Equine? Yeah?
Hey, it's that time again. It's time to talk mules and donkeys. My name's Dave. This is Steve Edwards. Every week we get together to talk mules and donkeys. This week is no exception. We got a great show planned for you today. How do I know that? Because you are here and you are the one that tells us how this show is going to go. This show is going to go fantastic because you are here. Every week we get together at this time to take 60 minutes to help you with whatever we can, swap stories, hear what's going on in your neck of the woods, and we're excited to do it again today. Steve, it's been a whole week. How are things out there on the ranch today?
It's 105 degrees in the atmosphere. It's 135 on the ground.
That's heat. That's
Yeah,
heat, baby.
Yeah, but
And it's
hey,
only going up from there.
yeah, but get this. Try only 6% humidity. Now, the rest of you, I know you're saying, man, that's hot. Okay, it's hot. You're right. Hot is hot. Just like cold is cold. But 6% humidity, yeah, that's nothing.
It's a dry heat, and I much prefer. The first time I realized what humidity was, I was in Kentucky, and my aunt promised me $5 to vacuum out and wash her car. And so I went out in July, and within 3 minutes, I was sweating, and I was like, I'm not even working that hard. What is my problem here? And yeah, I was about 11 years old, and I discovered exactly what humidity was. So let's hope that everybody can stay cool as we heat up the internet with all these hot mule and donkey tips, right? That's what we want you to get. We want you to feel like you get out there. And I got me some hot information right off the digital press there. If this is your first time ever hanging out with us, we're glad that you're here. There's 3 things that we ask you to do, and folks are already doing the first one, and that is share your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like today. We would love to know where you are and how things are going. And heck, if you've got a mule or donkey there with you around the place, tell us what their name is too. Let's keep it fresh, keep it fun. That's the first thing, your name, where you're watching from, what the weather's like. The second thing, we ask that you share any and every mule or donkey question that you got. We've answered thousands of questions over the year, but it still amazes me that we will get questions that we have never had before, and that's always fun. And in fact, the questions that we do have, what makes it special and unique is they've never been asked by you. And that means it's an opportunity to answer a similar question, but in a whole new way from what we've done in the past. So ask any and every mule or donkey question that you got, so that next time you go out there, whether you're doing ground training, ground foundation training, whether you're doing surcingle training, whether you're prepping, whether you're trying to do a tune-up, whatever the case might be, you got an animal that all of a sudden spooked and you're trying to regain control and have confidence for when you get out there again. We want to help you with that as best we can. We'll give you the information and you can go out there and give it a shot. And the third thing that we ask is that you share the broadcast with friends and family. And that's really easy to do on Facebook or YouTube. There's several buttons. There's a share button, there's a like button, there's a subscribe button, and there's the comments where you can tag friends or family members. I want to say hello to Leslie, who's watching from Kentucky Lake. Janet is watching from Mingman. 94 degrees, she says. 85 for Leslie in Kentucky. Ashley is watching from Minneapolis, 60 to 70 degrees, somewhere in there. Susie's watching from 78. Janet, she says, in Kingman, not Mingman. So Janet's watching from Kingman, Arizona, not Mingman, somewhere else. Kathy is watching from Houston, Texas. Things have cooled down a little, but had a storm just come through. So there you go. Dave O'Brien, East Texas, 79 degrees and a muddy mess. 78 for Warner Springs and Susie. Kathy says, Clyde and Jake are my hee-haws. So howdy, Clyde and Jake. We're glad that you're taking care of Kathy. Janet Kingman, 90. Here we go. Third time's the charm. 94 degrees, 16% humidity, and I have a miniature donkey named Taco Bell. There we go. That's awesome. Karen is watching from Oregon. Cool and breezy. Darlin and Georgie Mules. That's fun. Sharon is watching from Australia, which means we've gone international. Hannah is watching from Florida, where it is hot, but she says God bless America. And I could not agree more. So if you are watching and you have not introduced yourself yet, please put your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like in the comment section. That would be great. Our first question today comes from Pat. My perfect little mule who hops on any and every trailer with no issues. If it's a step, but if it's a step, won't load on one with a ramp. Oh, no issues if it's a step, but won't load on one with a ramp. I've had so many people tell me that that's common for a mule. It's not a major issue because I usually haul her in a stock trailer or a friend's step-up slant load. However, there are times when we want to camp and take our 40-foot Dream Coach 4-horse straight load with LQ. But it has a ramp, and even though it's taller and wider than my stock trailer, she just won't go. She's not bad, just plants her feet and won't go forward. I've tried circling her and only attempting to put her when she's moving forward. No luck. She's fairly food motivated, but neither treats nor grain will convince her to step on the ramp. We only had success twice. Once, my neighbor who had a hard to load a donkey moved her feet one time up the ramp. Two big strong mule men each took one step off the end of the rope and just held it snugly, only moving forward as she did. I know these won't fix the problem. I find it hard to believe some mules will not even load. What do? I don't want to stress out my mule, but I don't want to get hurt either. Steve, great question. What's some suggestion?
Okay, come along rope, come along rope, come along rope. Oh, I've tried to come along rope. Oh, you've done it as long as there was no stress on the animal. Oh, yeah, I can lead it around. No, look, folks, you've got to stress the animal sometimes to see if your foundation is really working. Okay, and here's the proof. Now, here's the deal. Dave, you and I went over to the West End and we put a mule in the trailer, and I only had one hand because this finger right here, I shoved a knife through it a couple days before, so I was kind of using one hand to do this. But that trailer loading video that we did over there showed that it was possible. Now, they have like 5 or 6 people trying to load this mule at one time. They
7.
used rope.
It was 7 large men, she said.
You know, folks, you got this all wrong. Okay, now understand this. Get this in your mind. It's not important to go in the trailer. All you're doing is creating more stress on the animal. Because the only thing you're interested in is getting the animal in the trailer. Just like the only thing you're interested in is going riding. Okay? Why not do the groundwork first so when it comes time, the animal will do as you want? Because if it doesn't do something as simple as walk up a ramp, you've got big holes in your ground foundation, and whatever you have on the ground, you're going to have in the saddle. So one day you want to cross something or do something, the mule's going to say, no. Those 5 guys that were lifting up my feet and picking me up, you got to go get them first. You see what I'm saying? Folks, I want you to take your car. Let me just give you a similarity here. And you've heard me say this before, and I'll use it 1,000 more times. I want you to take your car, and I want you to tell them to loosen up the brakes. No more brakes. You're not allowed to have brakes. And I want you to go ahead and go to the grocery store and go do different things like you're supposed to do, like you like to do, right? It's kind of silly, isn't it? That's exactly what you're doing, folks. It's exactly what you're doing. It's not important to get in the saddle. It's not important to pick up the foot. It's not important to put him in the trailer. Do y'all hear this? Okay. Now, Dave, we had the perfect little video on that wonderful webinar that we did. And I want to point to this video a lot because, folks, this is a telling video of the mule on a post with a halter on, and I'm trying to pick up his feet. Here it is. You see? The lady was having a problem picking up the feet. All right. Well, everything's going good, isn't it? Man, look. Isn't this great? Now the mule's pulling on me a little bit. I can say I'm about ready to get myself in trouble here, but I'm going to see what's going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and I feel the mule's tensed up. And finally, I feel the mule relax. Okay. The mule's relaxed. So I go ahead and show, don't pull on the foot, just relax and do it. Now the mule says, nope, that's enough. So I'm going to go back again. I'm going to do like I usually do. And I'll give the mule one more try. And watch this. Kaboom now. Okay. Now you see, kaboom. There it happened. Look, there's a kaboom. And this is what, now I'm saying this is what people usually do. They keep on going. They keep on going. I want to pick up the foot. It's important for me to pick up the foot. They keep on going. Now, wait a minute. If you did it a first time and a second time and the third time it didn't work, don't do it. Don't do it after the second time. Don't do it. You're going to end up with problems and you're going to end up just like boom, there it is again. This time the mule blew up. Look at that. Mule's all upset. Blew up again. Tail switching. Now look, come along hitch. Not tied to a hitch and rail. No halter. Jess, leave it. Good boy. No halter. You see, look, does anybody see a different mule? Same mule. What was the difference? Come along. The come along rope. All the thing I did was spend a few minutes, and I mean it was a few minutes, telling that mule, you're going to stand still and quiet and look. You all don't see the mule tied. Matter of fact, I'm holding on to the rope. Look how loose it is. Do you see what a come along rope does you when you do it right? Get this in your mind, folks. You're riding and you shouldn't be riding. You're trying to put them in a trailer and you shouldn't be putting them in a trailer. You're trying to pick up their feet and you shouldn't be picking up feet. You got the idea? You first have to teach them to stand still and quiet. Perfectly stand still and quiet. See, this mule has had this done so much. He's had it done so much, he knows what's going to be next, except for this part here. You don't realize this is going to happen because most people pull on him, okay? But now he knows that after this, he's going to get it his way. And folks, it gets worse. Remember I'm telling you, just like this trailer, it is not important to put him in a trailer. It's not. It's not important to get that in your mind, folks. Okay? Please do that. It'll save you like me, 32 broken bones and 2 replaced hips. It'll save you making a mess of your mule because this mule mentally is not there. Okay? So come along hitch, and then stress it out a little bit. What do I mean by stress it out? Take and put a piece of plywood down on the ground. All this mule is doing is hearing tap, 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 tap. Listen, I have had horses do the same thing and donkeys and this sort of thing. People bring them to me. Okay? It's not a mule thing. No, it is a people thing. People, it is me. I am the problem. And I got to harp on this, folks. You got to get it in your mind. Why are you putting them in a trailer? Why are you climbing on them and riding them? Why not get your groundwork done first? Do you see the difference? And I've got a lot of other videos that can show you the same thing. Same thing. Okay? What you're going to have in the saddle and what you're going to have on the end of the lead rope is what you're going to have when you don't have good foundation. So there we are, Dave. You know, I know Awesome. It's a long way, but there you are.
Yeah. Well, the come along rope, it's not the rope itself, although that's significant. It's the fact that you've got a tool now to communicate to the nose, and you've got a tool in your hand that allows you to capitalize on good timing. If you've got good timing and you can make corrections, even before you can, I have not spent my whole life with equine, but if you watch them, you can see they're about to do something. You can see most of the time when they're thinking something. And so you just do a real light correction. And that's the type of training that you can build a foundation off of more often than not. Next question comes in from Candace. When I put the bit in my mule's mouth and tie the sides to either side of the saddle, like the one in the video. So Surcingle Training, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
he
but they're
sticks
using
his
saddle.
tongue out. He sticks his tongue out and rolls it around and around. I've heard that they can get the same pleasure from doing this as cribbing. How do I stop him? I've tried pulling the bit up higher or lower, and he still rolls his tongue around the outside of the mouth. What do I do now? Thank you, Candid.
Did she say she was using my bit?
It does not state what
Okay,
bit.
we need to know what type of bit. Was it a snaffle bit? Was it a finished bit? Can you send me a picture of it? Now let's go back to this, folks. Number one thing, it's not tying it up to the saddle, doing surcingle work and stuff. It is, number one, how the bit is designed. Number one, because that bit being designed, like Dave probably got a picture here is going to show you, showing my bit on the top of the table and the horse bit on top of the table. All right, and you're going to see the difference. You'll see the front of my bit curved up. You'll see the front of the horse bit laying flat. I want it to be farther back in the mouth. Look at the difference. Now, I'm looking at it on the left-hand side here.
I'm trying to figure out how to get your camera right here. You keep going. I'll work this out.
I see you and your green screen
Yeah, you do.
and you're blind. Anyway, look at the difference, folks. Do you see the difference between my bit laying flat and the horse bit? Now, that makes a big difference, folks, how it lays in a mule's mouth. The next thing is this. You got to have patience to allow this mule to learn to pick up the bit and pack it and hold it where it likes it, where it's the most comfortable. The number one problem that horsemen have, and it goes into the mule people too, because a lot of them have been around horsemen or whatever anyway, is they put the bit on pre-adjusted, creating one wrinkle or two wrinkles. You don't do that with a mule. You allow them to pick up the bit and carry it. So every single time you put the bridle on, every time you put the bridle on. Now watch this. You see how I'm showing my middle finger? I use that middle finger and I rub the bars of the mouth on the right-hand side. The mule opens his mouth. I just let him pick up the bit and pack it and hold it. Okay, now here he comes. I'm rubbing the bar. Notice how the mule's head is down. I want the mule's head down. I don't want it up in the air. I want the mule's head tipped to the left. Do you see how that is? Do you see how I'm waiting? Okay, now she pulled away from me, so I'll hold on to her. And I'll go ahead and get the right ear first, left ear second, and then I'll come back. I accepted a small try. You got that? Yes, she pulled away from me, but yes, she took the bit correctly. Notice I'm showing how the bit is hanging down in the mule's mouth. Do you see that? Hanging all the way down, bumping the incisors in the front. Do you see that? Now watch. Allow the mule time to pick up the bit and pack it. Now look at it. He's pulling it up and down, up and down. All he's doing is asking questions. Where can I put this bit in my mouth to be the most comfortable? All right. Now, once they get quiet and they're keeping the bit quiet, now I got to see that. Now I know about where it is that the mule likes it. Now I take the bridle off, one ear at a time, and I go slow. I take my time. Look where the head is, folks. Look where the head is. Down. Low to the left. And you see, I'm in no hurry. Look, that mule is packing that bit. Look at that. The mule is holding the bit in his mouth. Do you see that? The mule says, I like that bit there. That's the most comfortable. You see that? Now he spits it on out and away it goes. So, in other words, you have your bit too high up in the mouth, number one. Number 2, ready for this? You're using the wrong bit, or if you're now using my bit, give it time to work. In other words, put it in the mouth, leave the mule alone, allow him to ask questions about the bit. Allow him to pick it up and put it down and to spend time with it, okay? Now look, see how I'm rubbing the mouth with the middle finger? Oh, that feels good. I'm rubbing on his mouth. Oh, that feels good. Make it so that it's comfortable. Make it so it feels good. Again, here's you all. This is what you're doing. I just want to go ride. I want to go ride. I'm going to go ahead and put the bit in the mouth. I'm going to make him uncomfortable. I want to be comfortable and ride. Take your time. Make sure the head is down like this. Make sure the mule is comfortable like this. It's not important to put the bit on and go riding. It's important to put the bit on and be quiet and relax. Watch this. She was having a hard time putting the bit in the mule's mouth. Notice how I'm teaching how to hold the bit. Watch it. See the head down? I want the head down. I want relaxation in my mule. It's not relaxing when you shove that bit in his mouth. Now listen, once he does accept the bit, and once he does get quiet, I'm going to do this in steps of 3, 6, 9, 12. I'm going to do it 3 times today, and I'm done. I'm going to wait a couple days later, and I'm going to do that 3 plus 3 more, 6. Now it's done. Look at the head down. I'm letting the herd pick the bit up. You see that? Nice and quiet. Nice and quiet. Now, I'm going to do it 3, 6, 9, 12. But Steve, it takes so long. Then quit riding. Folks, do it right the first time. Take your time, okay? And you'll have a whole lot happier mule, okay? You'll have a whole lot happier mule if you just relax. It's not important to put the bit on when the head is in the air. It's not important to put the bit on when the head is over here. Head down, nose to the left, okay? And relax. Relax. It's not important to go riding, okay? I'd like you to go let all the air out of your tires and go ahead and go into town. You're going to go into town, but is that going to be a comfortable ride? No. Are you tearing up your tires? Yes, okay? Same thing with your mule. Are you going to go riding? Yes. Are you tearing up his mouth? Yes. Yes, you're tearing up his mouth. I'm going to get the bit in so I can go riding. No. Just a minute, folks. Let's think about your donkey. Let's think about your mule. Only thing you're thinking about is climbing on and riding. Why not enjoy it? Why not let him pick up the bit and pack it? So get me a picture of the bit. Get me a picture of the bridle. I want to see the bit and bridle and all. And here's the next thing, folks. As I tell you all the time, get the dentist out and have him do dental work. Now, I was just talking to a guy today. He said his mule's tripping in his back shoulder, back hip, and his left shoulder. You know what that is? That's a horse saddle created problems. I said, take it to a chiropractor. He said, they have chiropractors for horses? Yeah, they got horse and mule chiropractors. Yes, they do. Get it done, folks. See, you're going riding, but your mule's not going to enjoy it. Yeah, you're going to look all around. Look at me. I'm a cowboy. No, folks. No. Okay? Think about your mule. That's what you need to do.
Awesome. Next question. Actually, want to say hello to Edna watching from Spring Hill. Steve, thank you for the call today. Melvin, my donkey, and I will be using the come-along rope. That's awesome. Kimberly's watching from Northeast Maryland. I'm excited to catch you live. Jane is watching from Florida where it's 92 and hot. Susie says donkey leads well, but when coming home from friend's equine house, donkey hates to come home as there is no equine at home. Donkey puts his brakes. Hard to lead home. Any suggestions?
Yes. Again, foundation training. Now, the next thing is going to be your timing. Okay? When you feel it, I want you to have about 3 foot worth of leverage between the donkey's face and your hand where you can roll your wrist. As soon as you feel the slight amount of pressure, donkey's thinking, I'm going to go bye-bye. Guess what I want you to do? Bump him. You see, the come-along hitch is attached to the donkey, but you're attached to the come-along hitch, and which is your communication tool. If the donkey is already stopping, your timing isn't there. Folks, it's the same thing when you're in a saddle. If you can't fix it on the ground, don't get in a saddle. Now, going back to donkey. Donkey says, I don't have any buddies back there. You're his buddy. He don't need a bunch of buddies. When you have that bunch of buddy problems, you're going to have mega buddy sour. You end up being the leader of the pack. And you do that by bump, bump, bump. So again, it's your timing. If you just got to feel it. When you know what's going to happen, when you feel it in a rope, fix it then. When it's this big of a problem compared to it's running off type of problem. You understand? So again, it's your timing. You can fix it up.
Jane is watching. Oh, we already said hi to Jane. Well, hello again, Jane. Barbara is watching from warm and sunny Sullivan, Missouri. Damien is watching from Waxahachie, Texas. Rain, rain, rain. Kathy says, my donkey Jank. My donkey Jake has white line disease in both front feet. My farrier isn't interested in doing much about it. I asked, why don't we do a resection? He said he doesn't want to because he thinks the soles are too soft. He did founder up front several years ago after a very serious abscess. My farrier said he'll probably have white lines disease forever. I'm not the least bit satisfied with that answer. Jake is only 9 years old. What would you say to Kathy?
Well, Kathy, unfortunately, your farrier is right. White lines disease is a horrible thing. They don't really know what causes it. There's lots of different thoughts. I used to think it was because of too much moisture and the manure and stuff packing up in the hoof. But to be honest with you, I've been doing this all my life, and I've seen a lot of animals go down with white lines disease, and it gets to be pretty ugly. And I want to tell you the truth here, okay? It gets to be so bad they don't hardly want to walk. They just want to lay down. That's when you have to put them down, okay? But I'm sorry, that white lines disease is pretty much, there's not much you can do about it. Now, I know you're going to go through stages of, by golly, he's getting better. And believe me, I have tried it. I've talked to vets all over the world. Dr. Robert Miller is one of my favorite go-to vets back when he was still around doing really good. And he's like 98 years old now. But anyway, I wish there was a way to fix your white lines disease, but there's not. I've tried everything you can imagine, all kinds of shoeing tips, all kinds of boots, all kinds of ways to trim them. And it's flat a disease. And that white line is unfortunately going to deteriorate, and it can get pretty tough.
Ivy is watching from New Sharon. Where is ME? Is ME Maine?
No, M or NE?
M.
Oh. No.
Yeah, Maine.
Is it Maine?
Yeah.
I thought MA was Maine. Okay.
It's been a while since I've been in school. Sorry about that, Ivy. We're learning new things here. We appreciate it. Magnificent Millie is my draft mule that I ride in dressage. Does anyone have any tips on fitting a dressage saddle to a large mule? This has been one that Steve has gotten over and over and over the years. And Steve, even you spent time trying to figure out a way. Why don't you tell Ivy kind of what your conclusion is there?
Ivy, I'm going to give you the short of it. The short of it, there is no saddle that's going to work with an English fitting saddle. It's only one cinch, and even if you do design a back cinch that will kind of work, it still goes forward. Those trees, even though I've worked on trees, I've designed trees, I've tried to build a rear cinch that would work good on keeping the saddle into place. But you have to have a breeching, and unfortunately, and I know a lot of you don't you think about this, all of you, is that these mules brace into pain. You think you're doing okay and you're riding Millie and by golly, getting some dressage done, but look, you're right on top of the scapula, right on top of the scapula. And I've got people that have now got their mules crippled because of the scapula. There's a part to the scapula. The scapula is hard, but there's a fiber that goes across the top. And when that cracks, now your mule is crippled, and you can't tell it until they start stumbling a lot. And first it's just a few small stumbles, and then it gets worse and worse. Now, several years ago, I was in Illinois, and I had 5 veterinarians follow me around. And they kept hearing me talk and said, "We've never learned this in vet school, yada, yada." Well, I was talking about the scapula once more, and up this veterinarian steps up, and he says, "I am a veterinarian, but I do autopsies for insurance companies. And they want to know why I've got to pay out this exorbitant amount of money for this horse when he's tripling and he's crippled." And they say, "Can't you just do the shoeing problem?" He said, "No, it's up in the scapula. There's a fiber that goes across the top." That was the thing I didn't realize. I didn't realize that there was a fiber across there. Now, I went and I got an antelope. I harvested an antelope one time. And I kept the scapula. And we've got some video of it, and I talked about it, and I still got the scapula. But what's happening is, yes, you're riding. And again, folks, I want to get this in your mind, okay? Yes, you're riding. And yes, Millie, Magnificent Millie, you call her, is doing your dressage stuff. And I love dressage. Oh, it's a beautiful way of riding. But Millie is getting crippled little by little, bit by bit. And I know that you all don't want to hear this. And believe me, I don't like talking about it, but I've seen it time and time again. Oh, Steve's wrong. Steve's wrong. Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that tell you that Steve ended up being right. Okay. I have spent years, folks, years trying to figure how to make my mule comfortable, how to ride and not tear him up. Okay. And years at it. And I love everything to do with riding, all aspects, even the art of doing dressage. But there is no saddle out there that's going to work. Now, Cosby was probably about the best of the bunch, but again, the saddle went forward. And I bet you if you sent me pictures, it'd be like all the other pictures I've seen of people riding their animals. Your saddle is sitting on top of the scapula, and little by little, you're crippling them up. So there you are. That's the truth. I believe me, I've got some very good saddle makers, and I have made trees. I have tested trees. I have set things up in all kinds of ways. I've spent a lot of time and money trying to do this because I knew a lot of people wanted to do dressage, and I was bound and determined I was going to make a saddle that would work. And I'm going to tell you, folks, I easily spent 2 years working on it, watching one being ridden, seeing how it was, have a vet look at him, do some x-rays and things like this, okay? And I couldn't do it, folks. I couldn't get a saddle that worked consistently to help that mule out.
Thanks for the question. Appreciate it, Ivy. Barbara says, "I couldn't load my mule until I got the come-along hitch. It wasn't overnight, but now she loads without too much trouble." Yeah, that come-along hitch is a strong communication tool. That's what you're looking for.
Yep.
Tess is watching. Craig is watching from El Reno. James is watching. Jim, we saw you on some of the replays on YouTube. It's good to have you here live as well. Jackie is here, and Jackie, I'm going to read your question right now. Jackie sent in a question. I purchased a 6-year-old gaited 13.2 John called Cash 5 years ago. He had been ridden by a 13-year-old Amish girl. He'd been trail ridden in northeast Georgia mountains maybe 25 times. Usually does well under the saddle. He's been trained by several different trainers. Loads in a trailer with no issues. But he has handling issues. He's opinionated. He bolts when he gets his mind on something, and it's faster than I can correct. Now it's a habit. I used the come-along rope. We were making progress, but he keeps challenging me. Dislikes male farriers, wiggles and hops, no kick or bite. We've not been able to trim his back feet for over a year. He's fine in the front. I can lift and stretch his rear legs just fine anytime. Hates being stalled, pacing, and kicking the walls. Makes horrible mess and noise for attention. Sounds like my 7-year-old right now. He can be difficult to catch, taking time, 20 minutes just playing catch. Can't catch me games. Saddling is a pain. He wiggles, avoidance techniques. He's hobble trained and will mount and jump obstacle on command. Very jealous, attacking my most recently acquired riding mule. I like Cash. He seems to like me and prefers me in general. I don't trust him and can't get in his head. He seems unpredictable to me. I never know when he'll run off on a lead and be a pain to catch or dump my saddle. Come to the conclusion he needs more than I can give him, a more experienced trainer. What do you think? I hate to give up on our relationship. It's not progressing, instead regressing. It's no fun working with him, as when I think we are making progress a step forward, we seem to be in the same place as before. Nothing seems to stick on these problem issues. I've had other horses, 36 years, mules 8. We have three other mules, one 7. We've taught since he was 18 months old, 18-year-old, and 9-year-old. These guys are doing well without any real issues, trustworthy and willing. What are your thoughts? Jackie, I thought that was a great letter, really good detailed. Steve, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, good for you, Jackie. You know, it sounded like there for a minute you was talking about my Rocky, 13 two hands, and, you know, he was a monster. He had a bunch of trainers. Wait a minute. Did I say the word trainer? Isn't it amazing how people say they're a trainer? And yet this mule here, the basic foundation of groundwork is not done. You see, this must be it. Here's a picture of Rocky, folks. This mule was given to me because he sounded exactly like this lady is telling us right now. He had gone through several different trainers. He was a handful. I took him to the ranch and we did work with him. I took him up on my place at Black Canyon City and we rode him, and I trained on him and roped on him. Okay. This mule, you sounded like you were talking about Rocky. Now, Rocky now has a new owner. And the other day, I was talking about how the new owner was 5'2". Well, I found out she's shorter than that. What'd she say? I don't know if she's listening now, Jody. Are you listening? But we got a picture of her with Jody. And Jody's not a trainer. And we got Rocky there. And she bought Rocky here. She never rode him at all here. But she went home and she did exactly as I told her to do. Groundwork. Now remember, only thing she did was spent maybe a couple hours with me. That's all. Then she took the mule right to Washington. She has not had a bit of problem with this mule the whole time. Now, let me add to it. Now, there's Rocky, 13'2", little tiny thing. And you can see her. I think she said she was like 4'10" or 4'9". Anyway, Jody will speak up and tell me, okay? But, folks, this mule's in his 20s. This mule stood in a corral and out in a pasture for over 2.5 years. Before that, I used him on the ranch. Kids used him. A lot of people rode him and this sort of thing. But I put a foundation on this mule. Foundation means I don't care who you are or your experience. You climb on this mule and it'll do exactly as you ask when you ask. And here she is. Look You see this mule tied up? No, the mule ain't tied up. What's he got on him? Come along rope. Come along rope. I told her, spend time on the ground with the come along rope. Show Rocky what you can do. Okay? And she did. All things she did was spend a couple hours with me here in Prescott, up at Randy's place. And then she watched my videos. Matter of fact, she even drove from Washington, her and her husband drove from Washington all the way to Shelbyville, Tennessee, watched me train over there. Then they come back to their place in Texas, spent a little time in Texas, then went to Prescott, spent time with Rocky, said, we'll take him. And they took him up to Washington. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jody, okay, and the rest of you, her husband, Larry, she's not had one. Matter of fact, she's showed pictures of this mule laying down and the kids sitting on this mule. We've never, ever done that in her training, in this mule's training, Rocky's training. We never had anybody bareback on this mule. Never. Never did any training that way. But because of the foundation that Rocky has, you can pretty much ask anything of him, anything, and he will do it for you. Okay? He will do it. You folks, you got to get this in your mind. Here's a lady just said she's had professional training. She's about to give up on him. She's just another Rocky. She's just another freebie that was given to me, And I've had, folks, I have not bought a mule in probably 30 years. I've had mules given to me because the trainers quit on them, give up. The owner, give up. Okay? What are you doing? What are you doing? Why is it important to load in a trailer? Why is it important to go riding? Why not spend the time, just like Jody did here? She spent time on the ground, showed the mule the simple things that she knew, and the mule is responding. Now, do y'all hear all that? This mule's now in his 20s. Now, when he's down the ranch, we roped on him. We had kids riding on him, trail rides and stuff like this as well. And he would set sometimes 2 or 3 months between working cattle and just set. But because he had a good foundation, now this is not just Rocky. My wife's little mule, she died 28 years old, Stacy. Great little mule. We were always gone 4 or 5 months during the summertime. My mule stood that whole time. 4 or 5 months. But then I would come home. I would start getting him ready for the season. I would put the come-along hitch on him. I would start doing my preparation, and I would ride off on him. Didn't miss a lick. Get that in your mind, folks, okay? Lady, ma'am, don't give up on this mule, okay? Spend time doing the groundwork and this sort of thing. This mule has got a bad case of peopleosis, and especially so-called trainers, okay? Listen, if they're not doing a simple thing as good foundation training, you're only interested in riding, that is your fault and there's their fault. Okay, so there we are. I'm kind of on that soapbox today, Dave. It's frustrating, doggone it all. It's not that hard to do groundwork, and if you can't do it on the ground, why are you getting in the saddle?
Well, folks appreciate you standing on the soapbox because, number one, it's a great reminder for so many. I know for me in my life, there's tons of things that I forget the basics. And when I find myself in trouble, I realize I forgot the basics. I got to get back to the basics. Mm-hmm. And it's the same. That's the way it is in so many areas of life. That's the way it is here as well. Let's see here. So there you go, Jackie. Thank you. Tess is watching, says, how do you order your bit? Tess, I will put a link in the comments section. Steve, who should be using the Mule Riders Martingale and who should be using the Trail Rider bit?
Everybody should be using the Mule Riders Martingale for at least 6 months minimum, 4 to 6 hours a week on an average. The Mule Riders Martingale sets a foundation. Once you've done your groundwork with this come along, once you've done your surcingle with the rope halter and the martingale and your finish bit, once you've done those, then going out and riding with the Martingale, everybody should have that. What it does, it keeps the mule honest without you having to think about it. The big problem is this, folks. The big problem is this. Your timing, you don't have the feel when the mule's nose goes out. You don't think nothing about it. The mule's nose went out, no big deal. Yes, it is a big deal. Because as soon as that mule's nose goes out, he's now saying, I want control of things. Then it goes up, elevates the head. When it goes out, he tightens the throat latch. When he elevates his head, he tightens all 5 neck muscles. Most of you never even think about that. You're just riding along. I'm just, wow, look at the birds and the bees and the honey. No, folks. In the meantime, you're riding a wreck looking for a place to happen. So what the Martingale does, the Martingale sets the nose, sets the head, because you done your ground foundation work the months beforehand. Okay? So now, to go to the finished bit, the trail rider bit. Okay? The day you can side pass, turn on the forehand, turn on the hindquarters, back up and turn to the right, turn to the left in a 10-foot circle. No more than that. It's not important that kids rode this mule. It's not important you crossed water. It's not important he's been to Colorado 10,000 times and hauled out 50,000 elk. No. What's important is in a 10-foot circle, can I do this? Yes. Then that finished bit, the trail rider bit, is what you want to use. Exactly what you want to use. Now, here's the deal. Sooner or later, just like your car, it's going to need brakes, it's going to need oil changes, it's going to need things like this. You're getting ready to go on a trail ride. You're going to go down this big trail ride, and there's going to be horses and riders and everything all around. I don't use my finished bit there. I use my Mule Rider's Martingale because it will give me the control. Because when something happens there with all those mules, all those horses there, somebody's going to break loose. I was just talking to somebody today, a person up in Oregon. They went to a clinic. Again, this trainer word irritates me. And things went bad. Several people got bucked off and hit the ground. Several people got hurt on the ground. And a lot was to do with techniques that they had. But going back to the Martingale, when I've got a problem, I have a mother cow that decides that she don't want me to take her baby, and she charges me. Folks, you better know how to ride when that happens. But you better have the bridle and the bit to fix it. And that's the deal with my Mule Rider's Martingale. It's the bridle and bit that can fix it. Again, do your training at home. Do the right, left, right, left. Listen, folks, if something goes awry and you haven't done your ground foundation work, I don't care if you got a loader trying to stop your mule. It won't work unless you know how to use right, left, okay? All the tools in the world, unless you know how to use them and do them at home, don't accept. He's been trained. You don't listen to that word, because the majority of these animals out here, folks, have no foundation, no training, and we put excuses on these animals for what they're doing. Don't do that, okay? Do your groundwork at home. Every mule can be saved. I'm really heartbreaking over this lady who's got a really nice little 13-2 mule, gaited and the whole bit, but yet Okay, number one thing, when I would do with that mule, when I got it, started having those problems, it stays in the stall by itself. I don't care how much of a fit he throws, because he's had his way before, and he's got to learn that when he comes to my place, it's not Burger King, he doesn't get it his way. So let him throw a fit. He stays in that corral, running back and forth, rearing up, bucking, throwing. Okay. Do it. Have fun. Blow up. But I ain't on your saddle. I'm not in the saddle. I'm not around you to get myself hurt. Let you do it. Okay, in the meantime, I don't feed him. I don't water him until he settles down. For one thing, it's a good way to get him colic. Another thing is we don't want to give him a treat. Treats, even if feeding and watering, we don't give him a treat for them being bad. Okay. In other words, we don't want to say, here you go, Fluffy, you're doing good. Folks, giving treats is incorrect. There's a special time for it. You've heard me talk about it, but there we go, Joe. I mean, Dave, you know, this is my day for getting ahead, I guess.
I'll go by Joe. That's fine.
Yeah.
I put a link in the comment section where y'all can check out the bits. Steve, real quick, I want you to take a look at this. So you can see right here, this is Surcingle Training. And although this is with the rope halter, this is also done with the Mule Riders Martingale. And you get this bale and twine right here that you will tie up to the Surcingle here. Steve, is it only the Mule Riders Martingale that you'll want to do this with, or will folks do it with the Trail Rider bit too?
Trail Rider bit as well. Folks, you want your mule to get used to the bit before you put your hands on it. Because as soon as you put your hands on that bit, it's going to be a whole nother world. Let the mule, you hear that? Baling twine. Expensive stuff. Baling twine. Why is that? It's light. That way the bit does the work, not the reins. And it's tied up to the surcingle. It's not the hands then. There's no hands. So look at this. I want you to look at this mule. Balanced. Top of his hip. Top of his wither. Yes, his head is a little bit high. Okay. But look, the nose is on the vertical and the head is down. And look at how loose the baling twine is. So wait a minute. What's going on? What's going on is this. The halter's doing its job. This is when I use a halter, folks. Otherwise, the halter goes hanging on the nail. Because mules learn from their nose. So when mules learn from their nose, they're going to learn quicker than they do with a bit. Get the head down, nose on the vertical. Then, when I apply the Mule Riders Martingale, I'm going to apply the Mule Riders Martingale along with the rope halter. Okay, that way the rope halter reminds them, and they learn how to pack up that bit.
Awesome. Good. I'm glad we asked that. Gidget's watching from Stephenville, Texas. 85 with storms coming. Sherman Johnson Taxidermy, Oklahoma, 82 degrees. And he's watching there from Norman, Oklahoma. Lugene says, why do mules rear?
Why do they rear? Because mules don't rear. For them to rear, you know what usually is? You're too heavily bitted, the bit's too high in the mouth, and you're pulling on them. I've only had one mule ever rear on me. And it was from a good friend of mine that was in California. He was the head of all the college system in California. And his mule kept rearing up. Well, I was coming over that way, so I went over and spent time with him. He had this big honking bit, horse bit, that was supposed to be only used with light hands, not his hands. So it was too much bit, and the person was pulling on too much. So send me a picture of your bridle, send me a picture of your bit, and let me help you out. Steve@muleranch.com.
Unger's watching. Mark from Virginia, 75-degree day there. Enjoy it. Karen says, I have a 5-year-old Molly, and she is in heat and won't lead or move when being moved to another paddock. What can I do? Just wait 5 days for it to pass? I have had 3 Mollies and never had one go into this strong of a heat cycle.
Yeah, well, there's been several of them just in the past couple of days that's been telling me about they're having problems with mules with their heat cycle. And it's rare, folks, extremely rare. All the Molly mules I had over the years, I never had one that had a heat problem. heat cycle problem, and they're coming into heat. They can't breathe. Now they'll stand for a jack. Oh, they'll stand for a jack and enjoy every ounce of it. All right. But what can you do? Put the come along hitch on them. Okay. And when they act silly, that's a perfect time to teach them how to respond to the come along hitch. Why? It's a stressful situation. Don't just do it when everything is really good. Life is good. Okay. When the stress is on, where do you go? Where do you go when the stress is on? I got Jesus. That's where I go. When it comes down to these mules and these donkeys, when the stress is on, when the pressure's on, when a dog's running out, when another mule is running off and this one wants to go, it's your ground foundation work that you did with the come along hitch. There's what counts.
Steve, got a question here. Take a look at this one.
Okay.
It's a little dark. How do you feel about the cinch placement here? This is the rear cinch right there. Can you see that?
Yeah, it's just the saddle is too far forward on the animal.
Yeah.
See the front cinch. It's way too dark for me to see, but I can see that the front of the saddle's up, the back of the saddle's down. So he tells me the saddle is sitting on top of the scapula. And I can see by looking at the cinch that the whole saddle needs to go back about 4 inches. See if they can send us a better picture. But right now, what I'm saying to you is the saddle is sitting on top of the scapula. You want 1.5 inches from the scapula to the front of the D-ring on the saddle where my concho is, and you want 4 inches from the front leg to the front cinch. So in other words, you take your hand and put it out. That's 4 inches. This saddle is setting too far forward right now, and this mule has a very elevated hip. Look how high his hip is. So he needs a downhill hip as well. So I would say, move everything back about 4 inches. Send me another picture, but I think you're going to need from what I can see, a downhill hip pad. Looks like an older saddle of mine. Looks like brass fittings. And I haven't sold a brass saddle in years.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it looks like an older saddle, but the saddle's too far forward.
Linda is watching from Portal, Arizona. Jane says, thank you so much for this. Very valuable info right here. Christina is watching from British Columbia. It's windy and overcast, waiting for signs of summer. David Pingelli, a big thank you from the firemen in Manchester, Georgia, waiting for you to come this way again. All right, maybe that's all he needs there, David, is a little bit of an invite from the Manchester Fire Department. Hard for a fireman to turn down an invite from another fireman. Craig says, one of my mules suddenly became ear shy. This advice from Steve saved me and her. 1 week of allowing her to pick up and pack the bit kept her from being ear shy. It was amazing, I learned. She was comfortable with a little patience on my end. Love hearing that. Thanks, Craig. Appreciate you sharing that with us. Rory, watching from Southwest Ohio. Beautiful today, 72 degrees. I definitely need to work on taking the bit. Lane is watching from Central Oregon, 57 and cloudy. What does it take to move to a trail rider's bit? Did you answer that, Steve?
Well, I have on different occasions, but Lane basically is this: to move to a trail rider bit. I know you're riding in my Mule Rider's Martingale. Now, the idea of the trail rider bit is to be light and easy, to barely move your hands around. So the day I can one-handed pick up my bridle and we back up 2 steps. Normally, my Martingale, I'm using 2 hands, okay, to do my direct reining. But to see if the mule is getting ready for a finished bit, 1 hand. I pick it up and it backs up 2 steps. I pick it up and it goes to the right. I pick it up, it goes to the left. Move forward a couple steps. Whoa. The day I can do that one-handed is the day I can start introducing the finished bit, the trail rider bit, to the mule. Now hear me? Introducing. In other words, I let the mule learn how to pack the bit, 3, 6, 9, 12. I put the trail rider bit on the Surcingle with baling twine, and I let them pick up the bit and pack it, and I let them learn to mess with it. So I do my groundwork before I climb in a saddle. And then the day I use the bit for the first time when I'm in the saddle, I don't do much. I back up a couple steps. I go to the right a couple steps, to the left a couple steps, a stop or two, and I'm done. 3, 6, 9, 12. Get that in your mind, folks. Get that 3, 6, 9, 12 in your mind so that you're building a foundation with everything. The wonderful webinar that Dave did here a couple weeks ago, it was mainly to get you all thinking about foundation. Foundation can be everything. It can be foundation steps how to pick up a foot, foundation steps how to put a bridle on. You got that? All, in other words, correct steps to get the job done. That's what it takes.
Let's see here. Kale says it's a tough deal, but white line can be beaten. Laminitis and not shoeing and trimming properly or timely is usually where failure occurs. So just some thoughts there from Kale. Bill is watching from, let's see here. Well, sharing to Indiana and Ohio pages. Cool and breezy, 71. Lots of hay going in the barn. Lots more waiting in the fields, though. Ivy says on the white lines, you just saved me a lot of time and money. Thank you, Western. Oh, no, not on the white line, on the Western Dressage. Western Dressage, here we come. George.
Yeah, different. Western Dressage is done in a Western saddle. English Dressage is done in an English saddle. So there's a big difference, okay? You can still do Dressage in a Western saddle, okay? But it's Western Dressage, and that's important. Now, the one guy that said white line's disease can be beaten, I need to talk to him because there's nobody in the world that I have talked to that said it can be done. Is he a farrier or what? Because that would be a wonderful thing. If you got a way to fix white line's disease, I want to hear it.
Reach out to Steve Kale. Kale watches all of our videos on YouTube. Kale is a huge encouragement to us and so many other people on YouTube. So I know Steve would love to talk with you, Kale. You can reach out to him. Real quick, I do want to let you all know that the video that Steve is talking about, you can get that for free. You don't got to pay nothing. Get it for free. And the way you do it here, Steve, I want to show you this.
This is important, folks. Watch this.
All right, so over on muleranch.com, whether you're purchasing a video or whether you just want to set up an account, you go to muleranch.com/myaccount, or right here, there's My Account and Orders. And when you sign up, you go to this little button right here after you sign up or after you purchase a video, watch videos, and immediately it's going to be populated with anything you've purchased. So you see my account here. I've purchased After the Wreck. I've purchased the basics of shoeing. I've purchased Doctoring Your Mule. And I've got some free ones here as well. I've got Getting Started with Ground Foundation Training. That one was the free one we just did. I got the free title, Installing Your Come-Along Rope. Free title, Installing Your Rope Halter. I've got the Mule Saddle Training Course, Mastering the Saddle Fit. Surcingle Training and Using Spurs with a Mule or a Donkey. Y'all, you get this for free. You don't have to pay for these. All you got to do is go over to muleranch.com, click on My Accounts and Orders. When you sign up for a free account, these are automatically going to be populated in there. So y'all don't need to spend any money to get the majority of those titles I just showed you. And then if you do purchase anything, they'll be right in there. You'll know how to access them. George from Acton, California. When's the next clinic? We'll have to come up with something. Although, Steve, you're going to be traveling here in the next several months. Why don't you tell us?
Well, I'm not going to, yeah, I'll be doing some traveling. You know, I sold my Dodge Ram truck, my 2020 flatbed. I sold it, and my wife has been wanting a little motorhome. So we bought a little motorhome, a little small motorhome. And we don't mind the hotels, but we sure do like to just kind of poke along and piddle around, which is kind of fun. So we got that. So we're going to go to Shelbyville, Tennessee in October. And we're going to help out my buddy there, Marty Ray, with his little Mules and Bluegrass Festival. And then on the way back in Arkansas, I'm going to see a longtime friend. and help him out. He's got some special needs riders that he needs help with, and I like helping out folks. So I'm going to take these special needs riders and work with them and show them how to ride and get them in a horse. And yes, he's got mostly all horses there on his ranch in Arkansas. But other than that, folks, I don't mind doing some expos that are maybe coming up. I may do one of the two of those, but I'm pretty much done with a lot of my traveling. I enjoy teaching and working with people on the phone. Matter of fact, Lane can tell you he had a problem with his hackamore, that it was kicking into the mouth incorrectly. And so he sent me a couple pictures. I said, Lane, you got your bridle on incorrect. So he adjusted the bridle, everything worked good. See, that's the kind of stuff I like to do. And it's free.
Yolanda, never give up on the mule that's in your heart. Thank you, Yolanda, which means we've gone international again. Leslie says, I was given a horse with equine metabolic syndrome. The vet said let's see, where's the rest of that there? I don't see the rest of it. Leslie, give us the rest of it. Bill, love this. Never reward bad behavior. Unger says, I believe mules have character, personality, and spirit. We are all looking for a rock solid and very sound mule that will do what you ask. I have mules that manners and good foundation, but still not suitable for beginner riders. My opinion is it's in the spirit within that is easier to harness in some mules over others. Yolanda says, I'm watching too. It's cold, wet, rainstorm, thundering, lightning, and more. She's got the whole gambit out there in the Netherlands.
Yep.
Ronnie is watching from Graham, Texas. It's cloudy and humid. Loving my new saddle pad I got from you. Yeah, that's a refrain we hear echoed quite a bit. Let's see here. Marcia says, I'm late again. Hey, anybody who has Cockleburs in the tails fabric softener and water works like charm, along with a cushioned hairbrush. Did my red mule's tail today, came out beautiful. What is a Cocklebur?
Oh, it's a nasty thing. It's a little thing about as big as the end of my thumb, and it's all kinds of little rounded thorns in it. And man, it gets into horses' tails, dogs' hide, cattle, everything. It's nasty. My favorite thing is to spray some WD-40 on it, and as the mule swishes around his tail, it swishes around the tail and throws out WD-40, which the flies don't like, so you get rid of flies. At the same time, eventually the Cockleburs come out. But that's a good idea, using fabric softener. Good for you.
There we go. Tamar's watching from Queensland, Australia, international. Carla is watching. Hi, guys. Cool and trying to rain. We need rain to fend off the fires. Amen. That's what we do need. Kale says, I will call you, Steve. Let's see here. You guys crack me up. Hey, there we go. Let's see. I think that's just about it. Steve, I do have a question. This one came from Glamourice. I love donkeys and got to see some today and pet them. My donkey kept nudging, one donkey kept nudging my chest a lot when I was petting him. I'm wondering what this means. Was it a back off command? The donkey was not doing this to anyone else, so I was confused why he took this stance with me. Thank you for any information provided.
Yeah, what they do when they take their nose and bump you, they want you to move. They want you to move maybe out of their way or want you to move. So you want to be careful with that. One of my stories to tell you about a lady who thought it was really cute to put a carrot in her pocket. And one day the carrot wasn't there, and the mule always went and got the carrot. Well, one day the carrot wasn't there and her breast was, and she had to have some breast surgery. So never allow a mule or donkey in your space. It's my space. This is your space. You're not allowed into my space. And when you come into my space, I'm not going to have you tell him what to do. Now, this donkey was being nice, but he could have got around to where he's going to bite you. And that's usually what happens. It's a nudge first and a bite second. In other words, move now, otherwise you're going to get bit. So there you are. You just learned a little bit.
Awesome. That's it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. We really do appreciate it. You can go to muleranch.com. Not only can you find all of Steve's saddles and training videos. There's also a bunch of free stuff there. I showed you a little bit today. Anyone that signs up for an account at muleranch.com, whether you place an order or not, there's a large collection of free videos that will automatically be in your account, and you can check those out. They're real fun. And Steve, anything you want to say before we're all done here today?
Nah, buddy, we're good. We're good. Thank you very much. We're off and running. I got some things I got to get squared away. We're not training the fire department tonight. They just toned us out and said we're not going to be doing any training tonight, so we're good. We've got a few fires around here and there, but we're going to stay here and protect the Queen Valley. We're not interested in going outside of a mountain to fight a fire.
All right. Thank you, everyone. God bless. We will talk to you soon, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.